In 1998, two robbers carried out a bank robbery at a late time. They knew that they would enter the bank using the cleaning time and through the cleaning company itself. They targeted the bank's treasury at the time the night guards arrived. The operation was successful and the amount they stole was very large. But the story does not end here. In fact, it started from the moment they ran away from the bank. This is truly a strange story. It has incidents of robbery, escape from prison, and even a crime in which children were killed. Our story begins in the city of Las Vegas in the state of Nevada, USA. The city is nicknamed the Heaven of the Adventurers, and sometimes it is also the Heaven of Thieves. In the evening of December 21, 1998, there were three people working in the service of cleaning commercial buildings. They were getting ready to go to work. They have a company specialized in cleaning buildings such as companies, malls, banks, etc. And they are a private company. These people are two wives and the wife of the man's brother who was 18 years old. On that day, they were getting ready to go to one of the branches of the Bank of America to clean. But suddenly two armed men attacked them. They forced them under threat to enter their truck, which they were going to the bank. Of course, these workers were terrified, and until this moment, they did not understand anything at all. The gang accepted them and covered their heads with cloth bags. Here, during the kidnapping, it was clear that the armed men knew the routine of these workers. And they kept arresting them in the truck until it was 11 o'clock in the evening, which is the time they enter the bank to clean. Here they arrived in two cars, the truck of the workers and the truck of the thieves. They hid their truck behind the building, and they put the truck of the workers in front of the bank in a routine way, and they put them down. And here they forced the man in charge to open the door of the bank. This company was contracted with the bank to go and clean every day. And to be able to enter, they were given cards and a sign to open the main door. So the thieves here forced the man to open the door for them through the card and the sign. And indeed, the man opened the door and the five entered the bank. Here, the thieves honestly fired the two husbands and ordered them to clean the building, as they do every day. But they warned them and told them that any one of them could be played. So the easiest thing for us is to shoot him and say goodbye to the world, and to make sure that these two will not play on them. They made the 18-year-old girl a hostage inside. Of course, here you will ask, what is the purpose of this scam, and why did they shoot them? I told you that the thieves knew the routine of the workers and the bank, and at 11:30 a.m., an armored truck arrived at the bank, to take the stored money and send it to the central bank, because it is a very guarded place. Or they may have come to take some money and put it in the safe places, like the malls, for example.
Because this bank is the central bank of ATM machines in the Bank of America in Las Vegas. And cash money is transferred from this bank to more than 1,200 ATM machines. And the total amount that is transferred daily is more than $1 million. Anyway, when the truck arrived, which had two guards, a man and a woman, they knew that the people inside were cleaning workers. And in front of the bank, there was nothing other than their truck. There is nothing unusual. So they opened the door and entered. And of course, the situation inside was normal. Because the workers, as we said, were doing their work routinely. So they touched the guards and entered the bank's safe. Of course, they were afraid and did not say anything, fearing the life of the girl who was under the threat of weapons inside. Here, one of the thieves was watching the guards, and he saw them open the lock of the bank's safe, which contained more than $1 million that night. And all of them are covered and ready to be taken. And here, suddenly, they entered the safe and pulled their guns on the guards, and warned them not to mess with them. And after they opened the safe, they took their weapons. But here, one of the thieves, while he was taking a gun from the guard, shot his gun by mistake. And unfortunately, the bullet bounced and hit the guard in the chest. The thieves here did not care about him, and they emptied the safe of all the money in it and put it in their truck. And immediately, they ran away from the crime scene. When the FBI team arrived at the crime scene, they tried to calm down the people who were in the bank, cleaning staff and the guards, to answer them and take details from them. And of course, they sent the injured guard to the hospital. And luckily, he was rescued and subjected to a surgical operation and remained alive. The FBI could not get enough details to take them to the thieves. But the workers told them that as soon as the thieves entered the bank, they were shocked by the cameras inside. and this indicates that they have not entered the bank before and discovered it. And the most important thing is that this is evidence that the operation is not an internal operation. That is, one of the employees is not involved in it. For example, the time here was late, and there was no one in the area who could answer the police and take details from him. Not a single person. This person was a truck driver delivering goods to a store opposite the bank. And he saw the thieves after they left, and they put bags in a white Chevrolet pickup truck from behind. And then they ran away. And here the FBI began to look for the white Chevrolet pickup truck in which the criminals ran away. And luckily, after a short time and a few kilometers from the bank, they found it hidden in the street. And when they found it, they found out that it was a police car. It was stolen a week ago from a police car stand in one of the areas. That is, the thieves stole the police before they stole the bank. This car is used to transport police equipment, such as barriers and things like that. So here the investigators responded to the neighbors in this area, and they began to ask them, did you see the people who parked this pickup truck? Did you notice their glances, for example? The neighbors, none of them noticed anything. No woman passed her house near this pickup truck, and I told them that I didn't see anyone get out of the car. But a few days ago, there was another parked car in the same place as this car, and I told them that the car was a white GMC. What the investigators understood here is that the thieves changed the cars after they ran away in the first car from the bank. They got to this point and parked their car and ran away in the second one. This is a common method among bank robbers. So here the investigators gathered from police stations and centers the details of this car to search for it or object to it. And the next morning, the bank announced that the stolen amount was $1,088,000. That is, with the inflation account, it currently makes about $2 million. And at that moment, it was considered the largest bank robbery in the history of Las Vegas. Now here, despite the FBI's belief that this was not an internal operation, they did it with all the bank employees and the driver of the armored trucks and the security guards. And they even did it with the former bank employees. And then they made sure that indeed the operation was not internal. And they took away all the employees. And it was clear that the thieves were following all the movements of the armored truck drivers belonging to the bank. And they were watching the bank for 24 hours to get all the information they needed. And here, after all the solutions were found, the bank decided to offer a financial reward worth $50,000 in exchange for any information that leads to the arrest of the thieves. And for your information, this movement often brings its fruits. But here, the investigators decided that in addition to this reward, there are other steps they must take. For example, the local authorities reported to the airport that they were looking for someone who was carrying large sums of money. And they told all the prisoners to tell them that the person tried not to pay a fee in order to get another person out of prison with large sums of money. And here, they received terrible calls. Each person provided them with different information, but most of it was false information with the aim of obtaining the reward only. But there was a strange call. The call was from a woman who claimed to have main information about the bank robbery. So the investigators asked her to come to the department to understand what exactly she was talking about. This woman told them that she has a friend who is a dancer in a nightclub, and her name is Jennifer Artem. She told them that Jennifer spent a lot of money recently, and suddenly her financial situation became excellent, and she gave them her phone number. Here, the agents felt that she could be the dancer who was on the other side of the line to reach the criminals. And after they found out more about the number she gave them, they reached a rented room, which is like a temporary residence. And here, the FBI agents began to monitor the room from a distance with great caution. And they were trying to get any evidence about the thieves or the location of the stolen $1 million. And suddenly, after a few minutes of monitoring, a white GMC pickup arrived at the scene, which is the same type of pickup that the thieves used as another vehicle to escape after they parked the Chevrolet pickup after the bank was several kilometers away. Here, the agents marked the car's license plate and sent it to their colleagues. And they found out that this pickup is registered in Las Vegas under the name of Timothy Blackbird, which is the same person who arrived in the car and entered the scene. And after a few minutes, he went out and left the place. Of course, having evidence of the pickup here was enough evidence to get a search warrant for the residential area. And it didn't take long. After a few minutes, the quick reaction team was trapped in the place and ready to break in. Here, they broke the door more than once, and no one responded to them. So they broke it and entered forcefully. Inside, the team found only one man, and he introduced himself as Riley Bates. And after a little investigation with him, he told them that Jennifer the dancer would be his friend. Here, a team of agents began to search the place for evidence. And another team went to the nightclub where Jennifer works, to interrogate her. There in private, he introduced himself as an FBI agent and asked her to answer the questions he would ask her. Jennifer was surprised and asked him about what exactly. He told her, "You are suspected of embezzlement regarding the large amount of money you are spending." Jennifer told him that the money she had collected was from the embezzlement she had done in the past years. And she confirmed that she didn't know anything about the embezzlement or anything else. On the other hand, the agents who were trapped found in the bedroom a large amount of money, and it was clear to her that it was brand new. And the place was a mess and full of trash. So it wasn't the right place for a person who has money and needs a safe. And after pressuring Riley, he gave them the secret lock symbol, and they opened it. And they got $50,000 in cash and marijuana bags. And when they asked him, "Where did you get this money from?" he told them that he got it by selling marijuana. And he didn't know anything about the embezzlement he was talking about. And basically, if he got $1 million, why would he live in this mess? But of course, his words were not logical. And it was clear to him the signs of lies and fear. And after pressuring him more than once, and after threatening him that he could go to jail for selling marijuana, he decided to cooperate with them. And he told them that he really had nothing to do with the embezzlement, but he knows the people who are related to him. And they are his brother named Robert Bates and his friend Timothy Blackburn. Timothy himself, who we talked about a while ago. And when they asked him about their location, he told them, "I don't know where they are at all. I mean, this prison was where Robert, Timothy, Riley, and his friend Jennifer met." After investigating the residential area, they found the casino tickets, which were used as an alternative currency during the adventure. These tickets were from a casino hotel called Luxor, and this is one of the most famous casinos in Las Vegas, designed in the shape of a pyramid and full of Egyptian civilization. So here the clients suspected that Robert might be living in this hotel. So they went to him and contacted the management and made sure that Robert was really living there. The casino manager told them that Robert used to spend a lot of money in the adventure, and each of his payments was in cash. And they also knew that from the day the robbery took place, he was celebrating every night. I mean, the guy was living the good life, and he was spending his money here and there. Of course, after they got all this evidence, they started monitoring his room in the hotel on the same day. And they got back at the end of the day, and he was drunk to the end. So they caught him and took him to the department. Because he was a victim, there was no room for them to respond in a respectful and friendly way. And inside his room in the hotel, they got banners, a gun, and $5,000. Here, in order to complete the operation and get the stolen money, they had to contact Timothy Blackburn. So after they got the address of his house, they started monitoring it from a distance. And they called the police and the FBI, and they decided to approach him, but with caution, because they discovered that this person had been investigated with him before for the crime of stealing another weapon, which is very dangerous. But let you know that until this moment, Timothy didn't know anything at all. He got out of the car, and the agents started their operation. Here, after several hours of monitoring from a distance, the officials got the arrest warrant for Timothy. And the team started spreading out and getting closer to his house little by little. But luckily, at the same time they were spreading out, a Jeep arrived. And when the driver noticed the team in front of him, he suddenly lost control and got out of the car and started to run away. Of course, it was clear to the agents that this person was Timothy. So they started chasing him and chasing him. Here, the FBI surrounded the area so that they could catch him inside it. And one of them went back to Timothy's car. And inside it, he took his wife. So they took her to quarantine and interrogation. And after that, she denied her relationship with any crime in which Timothy was involved. The agents were following him, and they knew the area inside it. So they started walking around, and they had police dogs with them to help them find him. And after gathering around his house, they met the dogs and found him. He was hiding behind a wooden wall in the garden of one of the houses. And after they searched him, they made sure that he didn't have a gun, because he fell from it and he was running away from them. And after that, they took him to the house to interrogate him and search the house at the same time. Timothy was married to a woman named Sophia, and they had 2 children. So the agents started interrogating his wife and trying to make her confess about where the money was. And they made sure that if he cooperated with them and handed over the money that he stole, his punishment would be lightened. But the brother was insistent, and he kept making sure that he didn't steal anything. And he didn't know anything about what they were talking about. But of course, the accusation was wearing his clothes. And after searching his house, They found some badges that were of the same type that they used to restrict cleaning workers. And they also found wireless devices, surveillance equipment, and many other things. And not only that, the search and investigation continued outside the house.
So the agent started searching the garden outside the house. And there was a dog house, and you guys are generous. So what do you think they found there? They found more than one cloth bag full of all the money they stole. The money was in the dog house. The agents felt that it wasn't a bad place. I mean, who would have thought that there was $1 million in a dog house? It never happened. The amount of money they had was 10 hours, and it was $900,000. That is, about 90% of the stolen money was returned, and the rest of the money was spent by the guys among them. On the second day, Timothy and Robert were accused of stealing the bank, kidnapping, stealing a car, and using a firearm in a violent crime. From where to where did they get it? Both of them were arrested in the center of North Las Vegas. I mean, these centers are where the criminals are arrested for a short period of time until they are tried, and then they are transferred to prison. And it's not a very fortified place, of course. It's fortified but not like prisons. The FBI didn't finish their job here because they doubted that there were people involved, except for these two. At least there was a third person, because the operation they did was complicated, and it was kind of hard to execute both of them. And immediately their eyes turned to Sophia Blackburn, Timothy's wife, and they doubted that she might be involved with them because it was clear from her words that she was playing. But she said that she didn't know about the crime that her husband committed, nor did she know about the money they got from it. Timothy's trial took a long time, and the clients were working on the evidence collection that will be given to him in court. But on August 11, 1999, which is 8 months after the Sutto operation, Sophia went to the detention center to visit her husband Timothy. During the visit, the guards let the visitors sit in front of the prisoners, and they talked to each other on the phone, and there is a separate window between them. And what no one knew was that Sophia was planned in a bold way to escape her husband from the detention center, and she brought with her a small set of tools attached to a chain of keys, and these tools were like a drill, and the window was fastened with one screw. So these centers are not very fortified, and even the visitors who enter it are not fully searched and guarded, they are searched quickly. So Sophia here waited for the right moment when there were no guards around them, and she broke the lock, and quickly ran to the two separate doors between the visit section and outside the center. And her husband Timothy immediately removed the window from his place and ran to her and closed the first door behind him and came out of the next door, so that if anyone noticed what happened, he would not arrest him immediately. And these two doors are always open during visits, so that no one will enter them except the visitors. The officials mentioned that Timothy used to jump over people to get to the outside. It is true that the story is not credible, but as I told you, this place is weak securely. It does not have strict security or security arrangements. And of course, it was the biggest mistake that they kept such a person in such a place. When they both went outside, Sophia gave her husband a gun, but she hid it inside a plant pot. And here all the alarm bells rang, and the guards understood that there was an escape process. Well, good night, guys. At that time, the guards were very close to Timothy, so they started to shoot each other. As for Sophia, she got in her car, took her husband quickly, and successfully escaped from the place. Timothy was able to escape to his liking, and the FBI was in dire need of evidence to connect them to him. So they decided that there was no other solution than to put a gun in their hands without complicating their relationship. Because, of course, after the escape they would need someone to help them hide. So the first place they went to was Sophia's sister's house. Because last time when Timothy ran away from them in front of his house, I told you that his wife's sister was with him in the car.
Which means she is close to them. And indeed, when they arrived at her house, they found in the parking lot the same car used by the two husbands in the escape process from prison. And when they reviewed the signs, they found out that it was Sophia's car, which means that they are usually inside the car or inside the house of Sophia's sister. But in the car, no one was there, so they searched the house everywhere, and they didn't find anyone. As for Sophia's sister, I told them that she doesn't know anything about the two husbands. She doesn't know where they are, and she doesn't know what brought their car in front of her house. So the good guys left her house. The search for the fugitives continued for more than 10 days. And suddenly, one day, the FBI received a report from the police that they spotted the fugitive while he was in his car. And within a few minutes, they also found him. But when he got out of the car, they found out that this person was not Timothy, but his brother. His brother was a copy of him in shape and size. And when they took the proofs from him, they noticed that the driver's license was new. He took it a few days ago, so they asked him what happened to the old driver's license until he got a new one. He told them that he lost it, but the clients were confused. Why did they ask this question? Because they suspected that he gave the old driver's license to his brother to use it as proof. And since the two of them look a lot alike, no one will know that one of them is the other. And when they searched his car, they found a note from his brother Timothy, and they wrote in it that he needs money because he needs it and he doesn't have money to eat. Glory be to God. The world is upside down. A few days ago, he had $1 million, and today he is in heaven. The clients here arrested him on charges of helping to escape justice. And at the same time, they arrested his sister Sophia. And the most important thing was to convince Timothy to go public. One of the things that the FBI later found out was that there was a close friend of Timothy who works as a guard in one of the places. So he went to his client and tried to find out whether his friend was contacting him or not. This person told him, honestly, yes, he contacted me once after he escaped from prison. So the client told him, look, your friend will definitely contact you again. And you tell him that we arrested his brother and his wife's sister, and they are paying the price for their mistakes. And indeed, the next morning, Timothy called him from a public phone, and his goal from these calls was to get money. And they told his friend here what the client said, and he was very angry with this action. After 2.5 weeks of escaping, the FBI official got the news that Timothy returned to Las Vegas and knew that he was fleeing to another city. The news reached an officer in the fast intervention team in Las Vegas. And what this officer told was a secret informant. So here, the officer was doubtful about the credibility of this information. And he asked the officer if the informant knew the names of Timothy's daughters, on the basis that if he knew their names, it meant that he knew him and was sure that this person was himself. And indeed, the informant gave the names of the girls and confirmed the information to him. And he told them that he lives in a hotel dedicated to guests who stay for a long time, not days or weeks. And he directed 3 agents to the site to make sure of the information. And they showed the hotel manager pictures of Timothy and his wife and asked him if he had seen them here. But the manager denied the existence of this family and said that he had never seen them before, and that they were not even registered in the hotel. The agents decided to rent a room to watch the hotel and cut the doubt for sure. And first of all, they reviewed the paintings of all the cars parked in the garage of the hotel to know if one of them was stolen, for example. But nothing strange happened. At first, it was clear that the report was false, but to make sure 100% sure, they decided to use a trick. They sent a security guard to leave the doors of the rooms in the hotel one by one, and he warned the residents that there were complaints of noise against them from the adjacent rooms. And from afar, there would be agents watching carefully. Of course, the goal was to know if Timothy and his wife were really in one of the rooms or not. And the strange thing is that suddenly Sophia opened the door of her room in the hotel, and she was annoyed by the sounds outside. The agents who were watching were shocked. They really went out hiding here. Of course, they immediately asked for immediate support and sent a team to fight the crime and a team to intervene quickly and surrounded the hotel from everywhere. And first of all, they evacuated people from all the rooms in the hotel except for Timothy's room and his wife's so that no one would be harmed. And then, like any other escape, the crime squad called the cell phone in the room and responded to them Timothy. And they told him, you have a crime squad with you and you are currently trapped and you have no way to escape. So please come out in a peaceful way. Of course, the shock and the state of fear that Timothy felt was something terrible. And he refused to go out and surrender himself. And he asked to talk to the agent in charge. The agent was afraid of one point, which is that his daughters would be with him in the hotel. Because in this case, they will not be able to intervene the armed. They have no other solution other than negotiating with him to save the lives of the children. But in the call, they heard the children's voices, and they were playing. The agents kept pressing him in many ways to surrender himself. But Timothy was completely in his opinion. And he kept telling them, I will not surrender myself. I do not want to go back to prison. I do not want to go back to prison. Because he knew this time that if he was caught, he would not be able to escape, nor would he be able to escape from the charges against him. And do not forget that he was accused of setting fire to the guard at the bank when he carried out the robbery operation. The agents were afraid of one point, which is that Timothy is thinking of committing suicide or hurting those around him. I mean, the subject was very complicated. So he and Sophia asked them to take the children outside so that they would not be harmed. But they did not accept at all. Sophia's wife, when she talked to the agents, they asked her and the girls to leave and they would be safe. And then they enter and arrest her husband inside. But she refused and was afraid that her husband would commit suicide inside. So the agents, after more than 4 hours of negotiations, and after they kept calling and hanging up the phone and calling back more than once, they decided to prepare themselves to break the door if they needed to save Sophia and the children. But here, suddenly they heard the sound of a continuous fire inside, shots after each other. And quickly they broke the door and broke into the room. And the tragedy is when they reached the bathroom of the room and got the painful view in front of them. Timothy, before setting fire to himself and dying, set fire to his wife, Sophia, and died immediately. And then he set fire to both of his daughters with their heads. And when they were caught by the agents, they were dying. And unfortunately, when the rescuers arrived to the place, the children died in their hands. The matter was shocking in the literal sense. And the Sharia doctor then decided that Timothy was the one who set fire to his wife and children. I mean, not Sophia, for example, who killed herself and then her husband. It's strange. You don't want to surrender yourself. Why? So you can finish off your entire family. What's wrong with these children? I'm honestly surprised by one point. Why didn't the agents be patient and keep an eye on him until the next morning, for example, and arrest him after he left the hotel? Or, for example, in a place where he was alone? I don't know what the plan was, but in my opinion, they were quick to arrest him. And what do you think? After several months of trial on the other two suspects in the case, Riley Bates and his friend Jennifer were found guilty of embezzlement of stolen money. They later admitted that the money in the safe was stolen money. And that was confirmed. Because of their cooperation, they were sentenced to 1 year in prison. And Sophia was sentenced to 1 year in prison as well, on charges of violating FBI investigations, because she knew that Timothy was the thief and they were looking for him. As for Timothy's partner, Robert Bates, who was arrested in the hotel, admitted his involvement in the embezzlement and was sentenced to 24 years in prison. And this is how we have reached the end of our story. If you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe so that this topic grows, God willing. See you in the next video. Peace.